Fresno State a lot of credit. They're a really good football team. That's a really good culture. At the end, I told our team that they beat a culture. They didn't just beat a team. They built a really powerful culture that stems from decades ago. So it was a good win for us. Had a lot of adversity throughout the game. Obviously, with Rodney's injury, we needed a lot of people to step up. We had to be able to change some of our game plan. We had to adjust on the fly. I thought our coaches did a really nice job of that. I thought our defense played exceptionally well, especially in the first half. And then I thought our guys did a great job of finishing, finding a way, refusing to lose versus wanting to win. And got some great awards, great accolades individually, which are ultimately team awards, with Emmett Carpenter being Special Teams Player of the Week, and then Antoine Winfield Jr. being Defensive Player of the Week in the Big Ten. So proud of the victory. We were 1-0 in the Fresno season. And now we want to be 1-0 in the Miami, Ohio season. So we've got a lot of work to do. Today's practice was tremendous. I thought they worked really hard. And, we got to just keep getting better, keep changing our best. And with that, open it for questions.
PJ, would the SEC play some early conference games? The Pac-12 does a little bit here in the Big Ten. How do you feel about the possibility of maybe everybody playing a Big Ten game within their first 3 weeks or so, and maybe shifting like a Miami game, something like that, to later in the season, which has somewhat been an SEC model, for years?
Yeah, I come from the old school that anybody can beat you at any moment. So you got 12 games on your regular season schedule, and you got to play them whenever they show up. I think the Big Ten is going to some of that. You look at, I think next year we open up 2 years for Ohio State, right? One of our first games. And I think the Big Ten's taking that model a little bit, but that's for them to decide. We got to play 12 games wherever they are. We got to play them and play really well in them. So that's our job, find out our opponents and be able to schedule them where we can schedule them, where their openings are. But I like it. I think it's really good for fans right off the bat, have conference games, and it kind of paints a picture of the future for people and gives all of you something to talk about, as you kind of go through game one when everybody's anointing people as champions already somehow, some way. So, I don't really have an opinion one way or another.
When a team loses players important as Rodney, it can be deflating. How has your group handled it?
I think adversity has always brought this team, at least the 19 months that I've been around, and brought us closer, especially with this team in particular. Any adversity we've ever had has brought us a lot closer together. I think it all depends as well on how that person that has that injury responds to it. Do they respond to it in a selfish way, or do they respond to it in a selfless way? Rodney Smith is incredibly selfless. He's proven and showed our entire football team for the rest of their life a prime example from a player, not just a coach preaching a message, but from a player's perspective of how to deal with an injury very quickly. He was back on the field. He was leading Bryce. He was talking to Bryce. He was talking to our young backs, talking to Femi Cole, teaching them along with Shannon Brooks. And then today's practice, same thing. He's got his crutches and he's out there coaching and out there demanding, and it's fun to watch. He had his moment. Everybody has their moment. You got to have your moment where you've got to either shed a tear or really sit there and take it in. You don't want to ignore the signs or also the process of grief, because that's normal. And I thought Rodney did a tremendous job, and he's probably still going to have more of that as he continues to go through. But we've got things set up in our program that are all about our players. It's all about their mental health. It's all about their safety. It's set up for them to be elite in every area of their life, and that includes the mental part. And so, but I thought he did a great job handling it. I thought our team, I never saw our team waver one bit. I called the whole team up and just kind of told them, nothing that special. Just, this is the next opportunity for somebody else. This is an opportunity that you got to grow from, and it's got to bring us closer together. And I thought it did, but when you lose your best player, it does affect you, right? In a way that when you lose, it's a player's game. We're a much better football team with Antoine Winfield Jr. on the field than we are without him. We're a much better team with Rodney Smith on the field than without him. But again, there's things you can't control, and how you respond to that, I think that's going to be the difference.
What impressed you about Bryce on Saturday, and how has he improved since he's been here?
I thought his second half running was way better than his first half running. I thought he had his eyes down in the first half. I think he was just getting carries and running, and that's okay. He's a true freshman. I get that. Second half, I thought he felt the game a lot more. He got into a rhythm, and I thought that his emotions and the style of play that we recruited came out in the second half. And, we're putting a lot of pressure on these young people. from our last game. I think our leading receiver, our leading tackler, our leading passer, and rusher are all true freshmen. I mean, that's what we have, and so we're going to expect them to play big. And he got a lot better in practice today, and it's going to be a process with him. It's going to be a process with Mo. It's going to be a process with Femi, but that's what we have. And then we have other creative ways to be able to move the football that we're going to have to continue to tap into with other young people as well.
Give us an update on Mo and his status.
Yeah, great question about Muhammad. He did individual today, looked really good. So, I expect him to play. It just depends how much.
PJ, we saw a couple times when Annexstad got flushed from the pocket or was scrambling. Seems like a lot of guys in that situation would just tuck it and run, but he's keeping his eyes up downfield, still looking for a target. Is that something for a young guy? Is it unusual to kind of have that awareness?
Well, you want him to have it. Is it unusual for that young of an age? Probably. I mean, his poise is unusual for that. Remember, he just turned 18 in April. I think a lot of, Rashad Bateman's 18. These kids are 8. These aren't just freshmen. These are 18-year-olds that just turned 18. So, they're playing against 22-year-old grown men, when they leave college, and all these seniors. Both defenses that we played have been senior-driven. And now Miami, Ohio is the same way, a lot of these seniors. So he's got great poise. He's got great confidence. He can extend a play. He's got good feel. And he's developed a really good relationship with the receivers already where, that last play to Ty that we get the 3rd and 8, he's throwing the ball before Ty even turns around or comes out of a break point and puts the ball in the money where only Ty can get it. He worked the scramble rules to perfection. He wants to throw first. He'll run. I mean, you've seen him run. He can run, but he'd rather extend the play and get the ball in the hands of the playmakers.
Do you notice him players kind of just naturally gravitating towards Zach just as a leader?
I do. I really do. And like I said, that's very difficult to do without any performance to back it up. But he's got natural leadership skills, and he always has. And that's what we loved about him when we recruited him. He had that. He had that it factor. Now he's got a lot of room to grow, and he needs to improve in a lot of areas. But he's better today than he was Saturday. And that's all I want out of him is, people are going to put expectations and pressure on him, but nobody's going to put more pressure on him than myself and himself. And he's just got to continue to get better, and that's all he's focused on. That's what I like about him when we get back, Chip, to the poise is he's poised and just understanding it's today matters. I've got to get better today, and I wasn't good this last week at this. I got to get better at that today, and that's maturity. And we talk about race to maturity, right? And he's adopting that, just like a lot of our freshmen are.
What is Femi Cole's role in this team? Is he different back? Can he do different things for you than Mo?
He gives us a little bit of what Cobra McCrary gave us last year, just a bigger back. I'm not comparing them, saying they're the same back. I mean, McCrary's, had a shot in the National Football League. But he gives us the ability to have a bigger back there. He has experience. He's been a part of this football team. So he'll have a role, that's for sure. He's going to need to have a role. And then, we brought, Nolan Edmonds up, another true freshman from Georgia, brought him up from the scout team. So, we'll just keep building some depth.
Can you describe the skill set of Mo and Bryce?
Yeah. I think, Mo's not a big guy, but he runs like a short yardage back. You wouldn't expect the way he runs to be from his size. But he is a high culture guy, and he's going to find a way to get it done. He's very reliable. He's got a great center of gravity, so he's got great balance. He can see the inside zone and outside zone really well, and he's a patient runner. But he can go from 0 to 60 really fast. The long-term speed, he's got that, but maybe not as much as Bryce. I think Bryce has a little bit more of the breakaway type speed, a little more of a thrasher. But again, he's still developing, becoming what he can become. Both of those guys. I mean, Mo's played in 1 game. Bryce has played in 2. And if you combine the plays, it's really not even probably 1 full game yet. So, but we see their style developing before our eyes in practice, and it's nice to be able to see that development. Because you want the guys, and even next year when you have those 2, Rodney and Shannon, you're building depth on there, and you got some outstanding running backs coming in with the 2019 class too.
You're going through the process of apply for the 6th year, you will, for Rodney. What is that process like, and what was that conversation like with Rodney about coming back for another year?
Well, it didn't take long. I promise you that. Our GM, Garrett Chernoff, was on it immediately with compliance, with Jeremiah, our compliance officer, about what the possibilities were. By even the end of the game, Garrett even told me, he goes, hey, it looks like we could possibly get this 6-year. With the way the new rules are stated, we feel very confident that that can happen. We have to file the paperwork, though, at the end of our last game. That's why we can't sit there and say it's 100% yet, because the paperwork technically hasn't been filed. But when the paperwork gets filed at the end of Wisconsin game, we're confident that he meets all the requirements for it to happen. I mean, it's every one of them. He checks the box. And so, we feel confident that that will happen. Just it's going to be for the final word, just like Antoine. You guys always ask me, when you're getting word on Antoine, can you get the year back? Can you get the year back? Same thing. You just got to wait till the end of the year, last game.
Is there a timetable on Shannon Brooks' return, and would he be a candidate to play more than the 4 games?
I am not going to play him more than the 4 games. I've made that very clear to him and his family. There's a strategy based on what we feel that we might have to play him sooner, but I highly doubt it, because there's a few things that go into mix here. There's a safety issue that you want to make sure he's 100%. I'll never put a player on the field that's not 100%. And I want to make sure he's 100%. And I want to make sure he's confident. Like today, he got in some drills that was semi-contact for the first time. And you could tell he was like a kid in a candy store, big smile on his face, and because he was finally involved in some real football. But it's going to take a little bit of time. So you got the safety issue. Then you've got what games do we want to play him in? Now, we can have a plan, and that plan could change based on our depth chart really fast. Who else gets hurt, what happens. But we have a plan. I'll keep that plan to ourselves of what we're going to do. But, he'll play 4 games by the end of the year.
How do you know when a freshman has kind of gotten over the hump, that the lights aren't too bright for him and he understands what's going on?
Well, I think the guys that have played, I don't think any of those guys have shown any type of spook or any type of, wow, this is too big for me at all. By just how hard they play, their willingness to do it for somebody else. And you can look in their eyes. You can tell. At some point, all the freshmen I've played in my career, you can look in their eyes and see if they're really with you or they're actually somewhere else. Even the way they're breathing, But I think it's based on when they get a chance. You don't really know, Joe, until they actually go play. And then you watch them play, and I wouldn't think any of our freshmen think it's too big. This is why they came here. I do believe this, so I think a lot of them thought that me telling them they're going to play as a freshman was a recruiting ploy. And then they're actually playing and starting. And I'm looking at them like, I told you that. Like this is, and it's a lot of you, right? I mean, there's 30 freshmen that have played, 28 freshmen that have played. And, they think, oh, yeah, it's just recruiting. Everybody tells you that. And then you get here and it's exactly what we said it was. And if there's one thing that we are, we're exactly who we say we are. If we say that's going to happen, it's probably going to happen. And when you're honest with people, sometimes everybody wants the truth until you get it, I guess, is the one thing. And that's okay. I think I'd rather have it that way than any other way.
PJ, along those lines, Terrell Smith seems pretty fearless, challenging guys at the line or trusting in his instincts when he's breaking on the ball. Is that just something you saw in recruiting and when he first came?
Yeah, well, if you could run 10-3, 100 meters, you would probably press people too, Chip. I would too. He's very confident in his ability. He understands. One thing I like about him is he understands he's got to get way better fundamentally and with his technique. And Coach Adai is doing a tremendous job developing him that way. But you can see him playing more aggressively, and you can see him playing down the field better than he did in game 1 already. Down the field, even in practice, playing the ball down the field, using his lean locate. I mean, he has 4 pass breakups already. Our leader last year in pass breakups had 5 in the entire year, and he has 4. Now, through recruiting, through development, I really like our freshman secondary players. But when Antoine Winfield's in front of you, that's you're going to be on special teams for the most part. But I like the freshmen as well at the secondary, the safety position, and then we're recruiting a lot in the 2019 class to bring in some more of the secondary members. So, again, we'll still be young in the secondary next year, but you can start to see the type of talent that comes in. And, Terrell had a lot of places that he could have went. And I think you see the difference of that is what we're going after. And he's an incredible person, and he's got an incredible spirit. He's not the most vocal guy, but he is an incredibly hard worker. Rashad Bateman the exact same way. It's fun to coach these guys. Some of our best players are our youngest players, and some of our youngest players are the hardest workers on the team. And as you continue to develop that culture, that's what spreads.
Winfield's interception, one of those plays where those players who have the instinct for the game, you think, kind of make more often than
Well, I think I said this public. Sunday night I recreated it with our managers. And the players were not on the field yet, and I ran back, went over my right shoulder, went over my left shoulder, put my hand up, tried to catch the ball, put my foot down. I almost tore my ACL, almost dislocated my hip, almost tore my rotator cuff, and it's one of those plays that you look at it and the coach, he's so aggressive. It's his man. He's down. He doesn't even look at his man. Boom, he's fitting the gap. And then he turns around and makes a play like that. And that's why I say it's a player's game. I'll always say that. Being a player and playing football for almost the majority of my life, and now coaching in it, everywhere I've always been, it's a player's game. You have to have coaches. You have to have schemes. You have to have that. But it's a player's game. And you see some coaches, really good coaches with really good players, and they shine. And you see some really good coaches that don't have their weapons, and they're not as good of a coach. Coaching is important. But I think development, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, and being teachers in all those areas is really what a coach is about. Taking these people from where they were to where they always dreamed of being. It's not just the X's and O's on the field. It's not. It never will be in our culture. But you can see these. You can see like the Antoine Winfield he's an incredible player, but he's even a better person than he was the day he walked in here, in my opinion. And he's grown a lot, and his maturity allows him to make that play. But he's got incredible genetics.
Blake Cashman have a big role in that play too?
Yeah, if you watch the play again, everybody thinks it's Antoine, and it is. I mean, that play is incredible. But if you watch Blake Cashman set the edge, you can see the running back grabs it, and he starts running out there, and all of a sudden he gets ready to throw, and he gets spooked a little bit and kind of jumps back and then lobs the ball a little bit more of a lob than he would have if Blake wasn't in his face. And that's what caused the ball to arc, caused it a split second later, and it's a game of inches and split seconds, and we just happen to be on the good side of it this time. And our best player made a huge play.
What do you see from Miami? What do you see from Miami? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, we're familiar with him. Chuck Martin's done a great job. It's in his 6th year. We played him a lot when we were at Western Michigan, watched a lot of their film, just being in the Mid-American Conference. Anytime a Mid-American Conference team gets to play a Big Ten opponent, we're around the same recruiting base. We see each other in recruiting. We're very familiar with each other. So I know they'll be really excited. Our players will be excited too. We're going to control us and do what we can to be better this week than we were last week. But they got a good quarterback. Ragland's a really good player. Keeps things alive. They do a lot of misdirection. They do a lot of things in the backfield to get your eyes in the wrong spot. Very similar to option football, and then throw the ball down the field. I mean, they throw the ball down the field a lot, and they've got a really good running back. Multiple skill positions, very talented. James Gardner, big, tall receiver. We recruited him when we were at Western Michigan, very familiar with his skill set and their defense. We recruited a lot of those players as well. We know what they can do. We're starting some new defensive ends this week. But again, they've played a lot of football together. They're a senior-dominated group, offensively and defensively. So, and special teams, they play really hard. So, it's another challenge. But for us, we have to focus on ourselves. That's all we continue to do. Change our best. It's about us. We've got to get better, and that's the expectation we put on our players. It's the expectation we put on our coaches. And today, I thought we had a phenomenal practice, hard practice, but phenomenal practice.
PJ, you have 8 players who have already got their undergrad degrees. Does that make your job easier as a coach?
I'm sorry, in what way? I just want to make sure I answer your question correctly.
Are they more seasoned, easier to coach, that type of thing?
That they have their degree? Yeah. I don't think that ever makes it easier. It might make it easier for them. When you sit there and look, okay, I got one class or one internship or 2 things, and you're sitting there going, wow, that must be real tough. But what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to have our young players, they have a full summer schedule. Every player has got summer school. We want them to take their academics incredibly seriously. We've had 3 of the highest GPAs, three of the highest GPAs back to back to back I think in the history of Gopher football. And we want to continue to move the bar and move the needle forward in that and keep changing our best. So we want to have our guys have the ability to graduate in 3.5 years because ultimately I think there's going to be a lot of players here that have an opportunity to leave early. We want to build a culture that way, but if they can have a chance to leave early, we want them leaving, if they can, with their degree. And if they're not able to do that, want to have them come back and finish their degree at any point in the offseason in the NFL. So I don't know if they're just because they have their degree, they're easier to coach. I think their life becomes a little different. But for us, I think, from freshmen to seniors, I mean, they all have their different, wherever they have free time, it's filled with something else. So if I have a lighter schedule and I've already graduated, I'm filling it with something else. So they might be filling it with more film time on their own or something else that interests them or internships or things like that. So, I wouldn't say it's that much easier, but, we take it very serious in terms of what we want our guys to accomplish off the field. So, all right. Yeah, row the boat, Sky Mount. Go Gophers. Thanks for coming, everybody.